want you to struggle the way I did. You're gonna miss your dog. I do this. What do I do? How do I do laundry? Hi, my name is Nishtha and welcome back to my channel. So it's about to be September. It's getting into that season of back to school, and for a lot of you this might be your first year into college or university, and that is exciting and it's gonna be like such an incredible chapter of your life, but it's also really scary and you don't know what to expect. And I honestly didn't, but I'm through it. I just recently graduated, so I want to give you some advice on how to deal with going into college. So for me, I went to university because I'm from Canada, so that's kind of the lens that I'm looking at and my experience when I'm giving you advice, so take that with a grain of salt. But when I was in my first year, it was during 2020, so it was incredibly hard, and my whole university experience itself was really challenging, and I don't want you to struggle the way I did. So I'm gonna hold your hand and I'm going to tell you things that you need to know before going into university or college. Let's get into it. First things first, for most of you, this is going to be the first time you're going to be away from home if you're either going out of state or, moving away for college, which most people do. So that in itself, if you're moving away from your family, is going to be really hard because you're going to get homesick. You're going to miss your dog. I know I did, and it was really hard. And you're just gonna feel homesick a lot of the time, especially like the first month or so, and that is okay. That is normal. You kind of deal with that. You're gonna schedule regular FaceTime calls with your family, with your dog, so you don't miss them as much. And then honestly, after the first month, you get so busy with what you're doing that you kind of like forget about all that because you're just so busy, you don't have even time to miss your family. Now, apart from that, being away from your parents, this is the first time you're gonna have to do things on your own. You're gonna have to figure out how to cook if you're not staying on campus and having that little residence card where it gives you food and meals and stuff like that. You're gonna have to learn how to cook. You're gonna learn how to grocery shop. You're gonna learn how to pay rent if you're staying off campus. You're gonna have to learn a lot of things. That's why I recommend staying on campus your first year, because you don't have to do any of those things. And you can just focus on like being away from your family and also like school. But if you're staying off campus, you'll have to figure out like rent, finding an apartment, how to make food and all those things. And it can be really daunting and challenging and overwhelming at first because it's a lot of new things happening in a very short amount of time. So it can be really overwhelming. And the best way to not get super overwhelmed and drown in all of this new stuff is to stay organized, is to make a plan, is to meal prep on the weekends and figure things out. It'll just know that it'll be really overwhelming at the beginning, but as you do it more and more, honestly, it'll get easier, and by this time next year, you'll be a complete pro at this. And it's also really important to remember that you can rely on your parents and your friends and peers. You don't have to completely feel isolated or alone just because you're away from your family. They want to support you and be there for you. And honestly, I called my moms almost every single day when I first moved out, being like, how do I do this? What do I do? How do I do laundry? Things like that. And so it's okay as you're figuring it out. Honestly, YouTube videos like how to make so-and-so food, and you'll be okay. And also, your college or university will have a lot of resources available that you can use and you should use. For example, they have free counseling services if you're not feeling really well, you're not doing too well, especially at the beginning, away, and you feel lonely or sad. Use these free counseling services. My university also had food hampers and donations and things like that you can utilize. So just really, especially in the first week of university, really engage with your university, see what kind of resources they offer. You don't know when you'll need them, and it can be really helpful and beneficial to you. Okay, so we have that sorted out. Next is picking your classes and choosing your major. So now mostly you should have already done this, but in your first 2 years, I recommend taking a variety of classes and the most basic classes you need for your for a variety of different majors that you can take. For example, I was a psychology major, but I didn't even declare my major until I was in my third year. I took a lot of basic science courses, and I could have gone down really any route. based in my third year, and I chose psychology. You go into university or college with like a specific major in mind, but honestly, most people change it halfway through, or they don't even select it till like later on, and that is okay, and I recommend you do it that way. So that way you keep your options open and you can like take a variety of classes and see what you like more or things you don't like and choose it that way. It's better to change your major or pick a major later on than get stuck in the major and take all these classes and then change and then realize, hey, I don't have the prerequisites for this major that I want to do. Something I also recommend is talking to an academic advisor. You don't need to do it within like the first week or first month, but maybe by the end of first year, talk to an academic advisor and see like, hey, what prerequisites do I need for this major or this major? I've known so many of my friends or students that get into their fourth year and realize I'm missing like 5 classes and they have to do a whole extra semester or whole extra year because they didn't realize they missed it, and some of them are first year classes. So make sure that you talk to an academic advisor and they will tell you exactly what classes you need for what major you need, and they can help you and guide you. Another thing to keep in mind when choosing classes is please go on Rate My Prof and look at the reviews for the specific professor for the specific class, because honestly, having a bad professor for your class can make or break your GPA. Like, I've had instances where like I know somebody else in a different class taking the same exact class with a different professor, and their average could be 10% lower than mine, just because, even though they're doing a lot better than I am, just because they had the wrong professor. So it can really make a huge difference. Obviously you can't like always avoid having bad professors, but just if you can, try and look at Rate My Prof and select classes based off of that. Okay, so you've chosen your classes, you've dabbled in a different variety of classes, you're gonna choose your major in your third year, that's fine. The actual workload is, I would say, not necessarily difficult or challenging, it's just different than what you're used to. In high school, the chapter that takes you like a month to cover in class will take you 1 week in university. So it's a lot faster paced than you're used to, and it'll take some time getting used to that. First year is like so challenging just because you're getting used to that pace, and honestly a lot of professors are very nice and very understanding of that, so they give you extensions or they give you a bit more grace. But it's really important, because you move at such a faster pace, that you really learn to stay on top of your schoolwork and really make sure that you're going to classes, taking notes, and not missing a significant amount of work. And if you're not feeling well, that you have somebody in that class that will take notes and give them to you, or if it's online and recorded, that you take the notes and do it. Even if you miss like a couple days, you catch up on the weekend. The more work it takes for you to catch up, the harder it'll be when midterms and exams come around. The thing I really like about first year classes is that they normally have a week of review, like a review week. And this is usually like the first week of like actual material that you're learning, and usually it's review from high school that you've done already. And it's so helpful and so important that you make sure that in this review week that you are understanding and knowing everything that is being taught to you, because they're gonna go really fast. It'll be like a whole semester worth of high school work summarized in 1 week, because you should already know it. And this is a really important time to really make sure that your basic understanding is solid, and if it's not, go for extra help, ask questions, ask your professor, because once you move on from this review week, it'll be new material every single week, every single class, and it'll be harder because you don't know it. That leads me to my next point, which is extra help. Extra help is always available, whether it's at your library, like where I went at the university I went to, they had lots of different services available. They had extra help for math, they had extra help for reading, they had extra help for writing. They would even check your papers after you wrote them and like give you suggestions and corrections, which is so helpful. They would also have, professors would also have office hours, which I highly recommend that you go to, even if you have like the tiniest question, or if you're not understanding one small topic. Don't try to teach it yourself. Go to the office hours, ask a professor, and yeah. I know in high school, like, teachers tell you, like, oh, your professor will not let this slide, or your professors are in university are more serious or more strict, and da da da. And most times it's not true. Like, honestly, I've had the most chill professors in university compared to high school teachers. And especially when you're in your first year, they give you a lot of grace. They know that this is your first time going into university, especially if it's your first, like, university or college level course. They're very, very, very nice and, like, understanding of that. And yeah, so go to your professor, talk to them, you know. And, you know, apart from just professors or adults, you can also, there's also numerous study groups that you can join for, you know, a specific class. They'll have a group chat, things like that you can ask, you know, people in the class, like, hey, I have a question about this work. How did you do it? It's really important that when you have a difficulty or a challenge, get it solved right there, right then, and don't wait because you move on. Honestly, for a lot of classes, they build on certain things they teach you already. So it's important that you have your foundation solidified and that you know what you're doing. Okay, apart from the schoolwork, it's really, really important to have fun in college, in university. That is supposed to be, you know, like your best 4 years of your life or whatever. So you really want to make sure that you're optimizing that experience and having a good time. So making friends in college is really, really important. This is what's gonna get you through your 4 years. And I know people like to romanticize, like, oh my gosh, I met my best friend the first day of college and we've been friends forever and she was at my wedding. Like, no, that's realistically, that's not what happens. Usually the first week or first year of university or college, you'll make friends that aren't necessarily going to be your lifelong friends, but more so friends that will help you get through first year, and then you can branch off and meet other people, make new friends that are kind of more similar to you and create more stronger friendships. That's usually what happens, and that's okay. Is that you can make friends. Now, if you're on campus, like you're staying on campus, it makes it a lot easier because you're going to get paired up with somebody who's going to be your roommate, and it's like, okay, well, because we're in the same place together all the time, we might as well be friends, and then you guys can join forces and make other friends that are, you know, in the same building or room, like the next, you know, dorm as you, and things like that. And so it's a little bit easier to make friends if you're like staying on residence. If you are not, you can still make friends because you'll go to classes and you'll see, oh, this person has a lot of classes that I have, or I see this person every day, I'm sitting next to them in class. You need to talk to them and be like, hey, what's your name? What's your major? You're gonna get so sick of it by the first week because all you're gonna do is talk about your name, your major, and where you're from, and those are your main things. And invite them to a hangout or something to further that relationship, that friendship outside of class. It'll be scary and daunting, but guess what? They're in the same boat as you. They're also new. They might not have friends, things like that. And that's how you kind of make friends. Another super, super easy way to make friends is by joining clubs. Usually within the first week of school, you're gonna have like a club fair where you're gonna see all these different clubs and activities and even sports that you can join, and that is the best and easiest way to make friends. Because guess what? You already have something in common. You both enjoy this activity or club that you're part of, and it looks good on your resume because you were at part of extracurriculars. And it's really fun and enjoyable. So join clubs, especially at the beginning. It's a great way to like meet a group of people that like the same things as you. And usually another thing people do often is in the first week or two, they make a bunch of friends and then they're scared to branch off and meet other people. Do not let that be you. It's good that you met friends and you have maybe a group or a couple of friends that you like and you hang out with all the time. But don't let that stop you from meeting other people and making more friends. So don't let that be you. Don't be afraid to branch off and meet other people and make new friends, because the more friends, the better. You don't have to limit yourself to just a couple or just be in that specific friend group. Okay, now that I know this is a common fear for a lot of people, is gaining the freshman 15. So I'm going to tell you how you can stay active and avoid the freshman 15. Now, I just want to preface by saying this. Your body is going to change. You're not going to look the same as you did when you were 17, 16, 18. Like, you're going into this, and maybe it won't be in the first year, maybe it won't be the second year, but your body will change as you're in college and university, because guess what? You're not going to be a teenager anymore. You're going to be an adult after you hit 20. And so naturally your body goes through second puberty and it changes. Don't try to avoid that too much, but there are ways that you can stay active and avoid, falling into unhealthy habits. You can still be active and fit and healthy, and here's how you're going to do it. Most colleges or universities, as far as I know, they have a gym on campus, and usually the membership is included in your tuition. At least that was the case for me. So you're going to make full use of that, and you're going to go at least 2 or 3 times a week. I know when things get busy, it's a little bit hard to, make yourself go to the gym, and especially with like learning and stuff, and there's a lot of new things coming at you right now, but just make that a priority because it'll be good for your physical and mental health, and you'll feel so much better. You don't have to go for like 2-3 hours a day. Just go for like half an hour, 1 hour. Just really prioritize putting in time for yourself and working on yourself and working out. It'll make you feel so much better, and you'll be glad that you did it. And then the second part is making sure you have a decent diet. Now, this is a lot harder as a college student, right? You don't have a lot of time. You don't even have a lot of energy to cook every single day. That's why meal prepping on weekends or days you have off can be really, really helpful. And you don't have to make like super fancy meals, just like wraps or sandwiches. Make sure you're getting fruits and vegetables in your diet, and you're not eating instant ramen noodles every single day, every single night, things like that. And you're not like drinking tons and tons of alcohol, because that will make you gain weight and be unhealthy. And that leads me to alcohol and drug consumption. Now, for most of you, this is going to be your first time living away from your parents. You don't have any rules forced upon you, and this is your first taste of freedom, basically. So yeah, it's the first time you're basically having this freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want, drink as much as you want, especially if you're in Canada and you can drink by like half of first year or second year when you turn 19 legally. And this is like the trickiest part, because you have to tell yourself, this is where I draw the line and I cannot cross it. This is what's good for me. This is what's not good for me. It's up to you to decide, because now you're an adult. You're being treated like an adult, right? So it's important that you don't overdo it. Drinking when you go to parties, drinking when you go out with friends on a Friday night, that's okay. Drinking, occasionally, that's okay. But you want to make sure that you're not drinking every single day, or drinking on weekdays, on a school night, when you have an exam the next day, a midterm the next day, when you have an 8 a.m. class the next day, drinking by yourself. And you have to really keep in mind, am I drinking like recreationally for fun, or am I starting to drink in an unhealthy way where it's becoming low-key alcoholism? So you definitely want to make sure that you set a strict boundary for yourself and you're not crossing it. You don't want to be blackout drunk every time you drink, even on the weekends. You don't want to be throwing up every time you drink, because you've just consumed so much that you can't even handle it anymore. And you just want to make sure that you're being safe and responsible when drinking. And you definitely want to make sure you're not drinking and driving, or partaking in illegal drugs, or doing any of those things that will jeopardize your health, your future, and your life. But like I said, it's up to you now to decide what's best for yourself and how to handle it, because you're the adult. And then that kind of leads me to the last point. Like, this college experience, this university experience, it is really, 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 really challenging. It is really difficult. The coursework is hard. Making friends is hard. This whole experience is really hard. Honestly, first year is the hardest, because you're dealing with all of these new things and changes and responsibilities all at once. Moving out and figuring out so many different things. So that's why usually people say first year is the hardest. But at the same time, it's also like, you're going to have so many amazing experiences. You're going to meet so many different, interesting, amazing people. You're going to have so much fun. You're going to have such a great time. And it's important to not be super hard on yourself, because at the end of the day, you're young, you're learning. This is what college is about. It's literally all about learning how to be an adult, learning how to function in the society, learning how to be a good friend, a good person, learning how, whatever your degree is, learning all that information. And hopefully by the end of these 4 or 5 years, you're gonna be a full functioning adult, ready to contribute to society, contribute to the world, and hopefully make it a better place, and make it your own. So I hope this video was really helpful, and let me know if you have any specific questions. I would be more than happy to answer. I hope you have a great first year, or whatever year of college you're in. You have a great experience, and yeah.